From KUNC and the NPR network, this is In the NOCO, a daily slice of Northern Colorado news and happenings. It's Thursday, March 21st. I'm Erin O'Toole. Many of us have been told that our 20s are the best years of our lives. But there's data out there that suggests otherwise. At least one new report says 20-somethings in the U.S. are some of the most unhappy in the world. Meg Jay is a clinical psychologist who specializes in this formative decade of life. She says a lot of young people struggle with anxiety about their future during this time.
I have yet to meet someone who's like, gosh, I wish I could be in my 20s again. And I think this is part of the message that I'm trying to get out with the book of, your 20s are not going to be the best years of your life. Thank God, right? I mean, what if they were? And then it was all terrible from there. So
Jay discusses her new book, The 20-Something Treatment, at Colorado State University on Tuesday. Just ahead of her talk, I sat down with her to explore what she's learned about these pivotal years. Now, in your work, you talk about a person's 20s as often being a low point when it comes to mental health. And I've been thinking about this a lot because here in Colorado, mental health professionals have sounded the alarm about rising numbers of young people facing mental health issues. In fact, it's been characterized as a crisis in our state. Could you give us some context in terms of what you're seeing? What is happening during these years to make it such a struggle for so many young people?
yeah, I mean, I think 20-somethings here that their 20s are going to be the best years of their lives. And we can talk about why that's empirically not true probably, but they're actually, according to the data and to my experience in 25 years with 20-somethings, is they're a mental health low point. So they're the time in life when you're most likely to experience anxiety and depression, substance abuse, feelings of suicidality. And this is also the time when people can turn it around and learn new habits and change jobs and relationships in their lives and expect things to get better in their 30s and beyond.
20-somethings today face a much different landscape than previous generations. I myself am a Gen Xer, and just things like social media and this constant availability of people and connection is overwhelming. And I'm grateful I didn't grow up in that. But I'm wondering if you could talk about some of those unique factors that today's 20-somethings are confronting.
Yeah, I mean, it's the 20s are the most uncertain time of life. And this is, for us, I'm also a Gen Xer, so they were pretty uncertain when we were in our 20s. Fortunately, there weren't photos of it, which I'll get back to. But compared to, maybe 50 years ago, the adult milestones have moved upwards. The average age of marriage, partnership, babies, houses is now, 30 to 35. But it's actually very stressful not to have those things and to live with so much uncertainty, not knowing when will I have the things that make people happy and healthy? When can I pay my bills? When will someone love me? When will I know what my job is going to be?
In our region, we have young adults, 20-somethings, facing housing insecurity, even while they're enrolled in a college or university. I'm wondering if this is becoming a more apparent problem for you when tackling mental health concerns.
Absolutely. I mean, that's part of it. That it's also a big reason that I write books is because not only can 20-somethings not afford houses, they can't afford therapy. I'm a big believer in education as an intervention, and that's why I write books. That's why I go on the radio. It's why I give talks that, most 20-somethings don't need a really good therapist. I mean, maybe we would all like one, maybe not, I don't know, but many of them need better information. And I think that can be much more accessible because, your 20s are probably going to be some of the most financially strapped years of your life.
Another thing that you talk about a lot is the potential for over-medicating our 20-somethings right now. Could you talk about what that looks like for you in your work?
Yeah, well, I'll give you some stats. So about 1 in 4 young adults is on a mental health medication. Most of those prescriptions are written by general practitioners who don't have specialized training in the use of mental health medications. Usually after 15-minute appointments, young adults will start mental health medications that they may not fully understand, the upsides and the downsides. And then that use can go on for years, even though it came out of a 15-minute appointment that might have been had during, the worst week of that person's year. In my practice, a good example, I have a client who's really struggling right now. She's in a new town, doesn't have a job, doesn't have friends. She's been crying every day. And one of her parents reached out to me and said, I'm really worried. I think we should think about medication. And I said, well, I don't want to jump to that. I see some good reasons why she's crying every day. It's really hard to be in a new city and not have friends and not have a job. But this is part of what the message is. Her brain is saying, please go get those things. You need those things. This is what's missing. And I also asked her, I said, hey, I don't want to sit on my hands. Would you like for me to talk to your GP or to help you find a psychiatrist to see if we could do something there medically? And she said, no, I don't want that. I think I need friends. I think I need a job.
It almost feels like we need a little cultural shift. Medicine and medical help and treatment feels like writing a prescription for something, but you can't write a prescription for, join a social club.
Right. Well, to this young woman's credit, I actually just saw her again the other day, and there was not a single tear in the whole session, and that was the first time in a while. And she'd had a job interview, and she'd joined a walking club that was, like a social club, walking club. And, my hat is really off to her for finding this. Suddenly there are no tears. She's feeling like, okay, this could work out.
And I would love for people listening to come away with some action items, whether you're a 20-something or a parent of a 20-something.
20-somethings think more catastrophically than older adults. So they're very what if oriented. And so we really have to take time, create space in our brain after it does all the what if thing to think about, well, what is? Not what if, but what is? What do I know about the facts? And also to learn to shift to what else? What else could I be saying besides that super scary what if? What else could I be saying of, hey, maybe my boss didn't reach out to me because he wants to fire me. Maybe he just wants to tell me something I could do differently next time, just to help the brain move from fears to facts and from fears to flexibilities. The good news is that life tends to get better. And this is also the time when people can turn it around and learn new habits and change jobs and relationships in their lives and expect things to get better in their 30s and beyond.
Okay.
Many people are surprised to hear that in the book, I have a chapter about how to cook. Because I think it's really empowering. And then there's a chapter in the book called How to Move. I write about being on semester at sea during the pandemic, us moving together, dancing, moving. It was a ton of fun. It was one of my high point memories, actually, from the pandemic, was us just moving. We were trapped on a ship together during the pandemic, but we all got up and got moving, and it got us through the day.
I love thinking about that. Dr. Meg Jay's newest book is The 20-Something Treatment. Meg, thank you so much for talking with me today. This was great.
It was my pleasure.
Meg will be discussing her time with Semester at Sea and her new book this coming Tuesday, March 26th at CSU. Find information in our show notes and at kunc.org. And are you a 20-something or the parent of someone in their 20s? Did this conversation resonate with you? Let us know. Send a text or leave us a voicemail at 970-614-5323. Include your name and city, and we may use your comment in a future episode. Or email us at noco@kunc.org. That's it for us today here on In the NOCO. We'll be back tomorrow with more of what's happening in Northern Colorado. Our producer is Ariel Lavery. Robin Vincent is our executive producer. I'm your host, Erin O'Toole. We'll see you next time.